Thank you very much, Chairman. I know I'm between the royal lunch and this slot for the keynote. I'll try to be brief as possible. And also, as you may realize just now, the signer has given a very eloquent snapshot of the current state of play and beyond of science, technology, and innovation. So once again, Mr. Chairman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to be given this opportunity to address you on STI as drivers of Malaysia's growth and competitiveness. But let me, at the outset, welcome in particular those participants from the foreign countries. Most of you, if not all of you, arrived in this country by plane. And one of the things you may or may not have noticed is the sea of oil palm surrounding the Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Acres, hectares and hectares of oil palm plantation. And that is your welcoming to Malaysia. And ladies and gentlemen, it is not coincidental. The oil palm is there through science, technology, and innovation. The oil palm was brought into this country around, let me check my note, around 1970. So that makes it, this year is really a grand year for Malaysia, or the whole region of ASEAN that grows oil palm, because the oil palm industry is 100 years old. And the oil palm is not native to Southeast Asia, but it was brought to this part of the world 100 years ago from its center of origin in West Africa. And if you want to observe the impact of science, technology, and innovation to this country, and also, or the scientific name Hevia brasiliensis, of which Malaysia was once the top producer. Of course, now it's Thailand and Indonesia. That is also a manifestation of science, technology, and innovation. And also some drama, really. Because when the natural rubber was brought to Malaya, it was stolen by Henry Wickham from the jungles in Amazonia. It was brought to Kew Garden and brought to Southeast Asia. The rest was history. And that too, beyond the biopiracy done by Henry Wickham, is also a manifestation of science, technology, and innovation, because natural rubber was taken out from the center of origin, center of diversity, and brought to this part of the world, and it became a world industry. Of course, Malaysia is not a top rubber producer today, but if there's any consolation, one of the Malaysian company, Top Glove, is the top producer of natural rubber glove in the world. They connect about 25% of the market. So ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say here is discovery and creativity are the foundation of the modern world. Our everyday lives are filled with their achievement. Smartphones keep us connected to friends and family, work, and the wider world. Agricultural advances help ensure that we are fed. Antibiotics and vaccines save lives. Transport system enable us to travel locally and internationally. And books, the arts, and the media expand our horizon and understanding. Ladies and gentlemen, research and innovation are essential fuel for our economy. We have been able to create wealth and provide jobs to our people due to R&D that has been undertaken for, at least in this part of the world, for hundreds of years also. In fact, through R&D, namely in plant breeding and agronomy, Malaysia is not only a top producer of rubber and oil palm, but other things as well. But ladies and gentlemen, in the years to come, research and innovation will play an even more central role in our knowledge-driven economy. Therefore, lots of efforts need to be taken to increase the number of researchers, scientists, and engineers. In a country like Malaysia, in a region like ASEAN, and a continent like Asia. So as I look to you, for those who have not made up their mind to have a career in science and technology, I urge you to consider positively and constructively to be involved in science and technology. Let us look at some figures why scientists, researchers, and engineers are key to a knowledge-driven economy. In this country, the number of researchers, scientists, and engineers, or what we call RSE, is around 80 per 10,000 workers. That is not good enough because the country wanting to have S&T driving its economy would be something like they would have in Japan. In Japan, I think the number is 141 per 10,000 workers. South Korea, 167 per 10,000 workers. And Norway is 183 per 10,000 workers. Secondly, investment on R&D. For a country like Malaysia, is about 1.3% of the GDP, of gross expenditure on R&D in 2015. That is not good, but because countries like the following have numbers like 4.22% for Japan, 3.29% for South Korea, and Finland 2.90%. So investment in R&D is important, and it is an issue that can no longer be ignored, because science is our future. Let's reflect on a speech by Sir Winston Churchill in Harvard in 1943. And Sir Winston said, empires of the future will be empires of the mind. He argued that intellectual capital is rapidly replacing commodity capital as the most desirable and lucrative means of commerce. How true that is. If you look at countries like Japan, South Korea, and to a certain extent Germany, those are countries almost devoid of natural resources, except one. They have the resources of the mind. And how true Sir Winston is when he said, empires of the future are empires of the mind. So I put it to you to have the wisdom to embark on a career in science. Scientific research, ladies and gentlemen, offers benefits far beyond increasing wealth. Scientists develop new and reliable tools to provide sound knowledge that allow us to navigate and shape our world. Engineers apply their knowledge and experience to improve the human condition while creating value and wealth. And of course, the humanities and social sciences can help us better understand our lives, the world we live in, and the choices we make. Definitely, medical science will also have its role in, as one could express, in prolonging our life and improving our human well-being. So as you reflect outside this room, you'll find that many of the 21st century's critical challenges, such as food security, climate change, energy security, and the impacts of aging, require expertise and collaboration across the full range of humanities, social, engineering, physical, medical, chemical, biological, and mathematical sciences. I just want to touch on the need and the role of the STEM subjects. That cluster of disciplines that holds the key to our science advances and which also be part of the agenda of this Asian science camp. I think Dr. Chua, the Vice Chancellor, also mentioned that the mastery of the STEM subject in Malaysia is not very impressive. We have a target many years ago about having 60% of our school children involved in science. What we have now is the opposite. And he also said the STEM paradox is not unique to Malaysia. It's also happening in many countries, of course. Of course, in this region also there are some enlightening cases like in Singapore, Thailand and Vietnam, where the mastery of the STEM subject is better than Malaysia and many other countries. But the issue is not only the need to have these numbers in the schools, but how do you make STEM education interesting, appealing, and entertaining? This is the problem which I hope jamborees like the Asian Science Camp can help to alleviate, i.e. to make science education more entertaining, more transparent, and more objective. As you know, in many classrooms, in many of our countries, scientific laws are learned, not discovered. Hypotheses are not tested, but taught. So such a curriculum does little to develop an attitude for critical inquiry, adaptability, and objective understanding. Thus, the ability to critically observe, analyze, and conclude on everyday phenomena has remained to be the exclusive realm of scientists alone. So, Dr. Hong, as I look to you, because and other professors here, it is incumbent for us to create a space to make science interesting in the Asian region. Because we are really living in a very interesting area. And I myself was sort of inducted into science because of my life. I was born in a village, the neighbor of Professor Yong Hoi Sin. And I was born in a house, not a hospital. But every day I was awakened by the sound of birds, by fresh air, fresh water. And at that time, we don't even have hot water to bathe. We bathe in the cold water in the morning. So science to me has been very natural. It's been exhilarating, appreciating nature. But, you know, when I was an adult, when I was in the university, only did I know that Malaysia and the countries in ASEAN are the greatest living biology lab on the face of the earth, beyond Amazon, of course. 3 of the mega diverse countries in the world today, of 17, are in ASEAN. Those are in alphabetical order: Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. Out of 1.75 species that has been discovered by scientists out of an estimated 15 million species on Earth, can you imagine the kind of products that could be coming from those great 130 million year old tropical forests? Cures for cancer, cures for diabetes, cures for high blood pressure. In fact, some inroads have been made on that. And this is where the convergence of science, the industry, and indigenous and local knowledge would come through. But finally, on scientific thing, I'm sure all of you have heard of Charles Darwin, the origin of species by natural selection. Do you know that the co-founder of the theory of natural selection did his work in the Southeast Asian forest? And his name, the Englishman, is Wallace, Alfred Russel Wallace, who did his work in the Malay Peninsula and Borneo, and in his transmission to the Royal Society, I think he gave many reports about evolution by natural selection. To make a long story short, Wallace co-authored a paper with Charles Darwin on the theory of natural selection, on evolution, on the theory of natural selection. So that is the kind of backdrop that I had with Professor Yong Hoysen living in this wonderful place on earth. That is all I want to share, but before I conclude, I would also like to record the brilliant speech by His Royal Highness and describing to us the potential of science, technology, and innovation through the convergence of some of the sciences in what is being hailed now as the fourth industrial revolution. And this is where we are. We are at the cusp of that revolution. In fact, we have been involved in some parts of it. But the solutions to those challenges rest on the shoulders of you, young participants from the Asian continent. With that, congratulations again for making it to the camp. Enjoy Perak, enjoy Uta, a campus which I must say is also a manifestation of science, technology, and innovation. And why? Because this state is the state for the mining of tin many years ago. So tin mining left a lot of wasteland. And Uta used to be wasteland, but today it's the indication of how through engineering, through science, they can create a sustainable, environment-friendly habitat. So once again, thank you very much for listening to my speech. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.